Hey there, biology student. This week, we'll be examining the various factors that contribute to food availability and how that impacts whether finches are able to survive and reproduce. There are a lot of things to think about this week. One, including simulating weather patterns, drought conditions versus monsoon conditions, interspecies competition between different beak types. And there's something else that you need to consider while you're doing this, and that is how much energy you're getting from your nuts that you're foraging. You need to have a foraging strategy that is appropriate for your type of beak. As you can see, there are a variety of nuts that you can use in your experimental design today. And you probably know that some of these nuts are going to be much easier to crack than others. Brazil nuts are very difficult to crack, walnuts are difficult to crack, almonds are a little bit easier, and hazelnuts are very easy to crack. But you will not be cracking the nuts. Instead, you're going to pick them up with your pliers, simulating your bird beak, which is more difficult than you think. There we go. And placing it in a simulated stomach. Birds would normally have to crack their nuts, and they would have to take time to find the food and take energy to find the food source, the nuts, and then crack them and all that. You're not going to be doing that. But to make the simulation as accurate as possible, you need a way to simulate the energy that would be used trying to forage for food and cracking open the shells of the nuts. So if you look in your lab manual, in section A, pre-lab activities, it lists a table, feeding effort value. This is the number that represents how difficult each type of these nuts are to crack. And of course it varies, the difficulty varies by the beak type. So pliers like these channel lock pliers, which represent the vegetarian finch, can crack some nuts a lot easier than, let's say, bent nose pliers, which are smaller, and there are some nuts they just simply cannot crack. So what do you do with this information? Be sure to read the special instructions, section D in special instructions. Not only will you get some great ideas for things that you might want to do in lab, but you'll also see how we use the feeding effort value. In your pre-lab, you were asked to estimate the average amount of calories per nut, and then divide it, and then here you'll see that you divide the amount of calories per nut by the feeding effort value. So although the walnut has a lot of calories, it is also a difficult nut to crack, which means that the numerator of our fraction, the part that talks about calories, will be large with walnuts, but so will the amount of effort needed. So that means the denominator of our fraction will also be large. So once you divide those two things, you end up with fewer calories. Your job, when you come to lab, is to use the information from this feeding effort value table and figure out what is the best nut for your beak type. What is the second best nut for your beak type, or the third? You're going to be competing with other people at your table. You may run out of the best type of nut, so you need to know what the second type is. The birds have already figured this out, and you need to as well.